We're here, and we're making movies.
I'm in North Dakota.
You're making movies?
Yeah, North Dakota?
Making movies.
In North Dakota?
Are you familiar with North Dakota?
You know those two fellas you put me in touch with up there in Fargo?
Fargo, North Dakota.
Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Bismarck, North Dakota.
Dickens.
Monarch.
Jamestown.
Williston. Standing Rock.
North Dakota!
I've been making movies myself lately.
In North Dakota.
Making movies is the most wonderful thing in the world. And North Dakota. Well.
I come from North Dakota, and bigger, better country you can't find.
Welcome to the Film North Dakota podcast. I am your host, Matt Fern, a filmmaker from Bismarck, North Dakota, and we are rebuilding this Film North Dakota podcast, and we are very lucky to have a friend of the show, the first returning guest, Scottie Knollin, co-founder of the North Dakota Film Society, joining us today. Scottie, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. I'm so glad that you're bringing the show back. I can't wait to see who else we have on here. And I love being part of history, being the first returning guest. What an honor.
Heck yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing this, Scottie. And the big reason I really wanted to fast track you, not only a great guest, but we have the Oscars coming up on, what day is the Oscars here?
March 15th. Best day of the year.
March 98th Oscars. And I know me personally, every year, I do Oscar watch parties, and it's very competitive. And so the North Dakota Film Society recently announced their 7th annual winners for the North Dakota Film Society Awards. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about the Film Society, all the great work you're doing, talk about the winners, and hopefully give some people some advantages to win their Oscar watch parties. First, I want to tell our listeners a little bit about you here, Scottie. Scottie is originally from Atlanta, Georgia. You got to start working in film and TV productions on just little tiny productions such as The Blind Side and The Walking Dead. Scottie then moved to Fargo in 2018, where he served as a jurist for the Fargo Film Festival. Did you do that this year here too, Scottie?
I didn't do it this year. My schedule's a little crazy, but yeah, that was a fun. I did 2 years in a row, and that was a really fun experience.
The Fargo Film Festival is coming up here pretty soon, so everyone should go buy tickets and check that out. Scottie also sat on the advisory board for the North Dakota Human Rights Film Festival, and in 2019, Scottie co-founded the North Dakota Film Society, which is a nonprofit member organization dedicated to growing and celebrating film production, exhibition, criticism across the great state of North Dakota. And members represent filmmakers, theater owners, film educators, and critics while supporting year-round programming. And as we mentioned, the highly anticipated North Dakota Film Society Awards. And on top of all of that here, Scottie, I got to keep giving you props. He's a published author and an avid traveler, and a founding supporter of the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures in Los Angeles, which I actually finally got to go to about a year ago, and I want to leave. That place is awesome.
Yeah. I was just there back in September and got to do a little preview of the Jaws exhibit, and it's so cool. It's still going, so it's got to be. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, one thing I didn't realize when I first went there, I said, like, where's Dorothy's slippers? And they said, well, we rotate everything. And so that is pretty cool. If you've already been, go again. And yeah, really, I've been wanting to see that Jaws exhibit. I've been watching those Steven Spielberg videos, walking around the museum, talking about it. And yeah, great place. Although the cafe is a little overpriced, but everything else is
pretty
awesome.
LA. Isn't everything expensive in LA?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Oh, when this comes out, the slippers will be back on display actually whenever this comes out. And a fun little anecdote with that: whenever it first opened, I got to go to a little preview of the theater or of the whole museum. The slippers were out, and they did a screening of The Wizard of Oz with the live orchestra, which was incredible. And when I went there, I had a couple of friends join me, and Lorna Luft, Judy Garland's daughter, was in attendance. So I got to watch Wizard of Oz on the big screen with a live orchestra in the presence of Judy Garland's daughter, and the slippers were just like a room away. It was just a mind-melding experience.
Ah, that's incredible. That is so good. I really want to see The Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. That seems like a cool new frontier for filmmaking. But that movie is just incredible. I have a 12-year-old son who is all on YouTube and, very short attention span. I showed him Wizard of Oz and loved it, beginning to end. Just an incredible movie. All right. Did not want to talk only about Wizard of Oz here. I could, though. I want to talk a little bit first about the North Dakota Film Society. Can you tell our listeners just a little bit more about the Film Society?
Yeah, we started back in 2019 as a way of trying to find film community, not just in Fargo, where I'm based, but just across the state, of who are the other people out there who are writing about film, educating about film, making films, trying to exhibit films. It's North Dakota is such a vast place that it's hard to figure out sometimes where those community members lie. And so I worked with Greg Carlson on kind of curating a list to begin with, and then it's just grown from there, of people who are just actively day to day, whether it's through their work they're doing at their job, through it, just exploring their passions outside of that, with making films or celebrating films. We've kind of curated this incredible membership that is pretty vast and fits those buckets. And it's been neat to watch us grow. We're still very Fargo based, but we've grown now to almost all corners of North Dakota are represented in our membership. And it's people who are kind of new to their craft or new to how they're contributing to the film community and just cinema as a whole, to people who've been doing it for decades and decades. And I found it really fun to not only see how our awards kind of shape up every year, how that's kind of ebbed and flowed over the years, but even kind of, we just released our favorite films of all time list, and we do that every 5 years. And to see the difference from 5 years ago, what our membership selected as their favorite films, to now, has been drastically different. And I think you see that in just kind of how our membership has evolved. It's been really fun too to see kind of how the greater cinema world has really gravitated to accepting our film society as kind of the voice of our region, and specifically our state, and just kind of the greater award season conversation. That's been really neat to see in just our short 7 years of time.
Yeah. Also, I do want to give a big shout out to Greg Carlson, who's a professor of communication studies at Concordia College, and kind of your partner in crime on getting this all going. Something else that you just did with the Film Society that I think is really awesome was NDFS Weekly. You launched a new newsletter. What can people expect from that, and how can they subscribe?
Yeah, we're trying to kind of fill two audience needs here with that. One is we just want the Film Society to continue to honestly just get more brand awareness here locally in North Dakota. We've done a lot of work where we're kind of part of this greater conversation, especially every year with our awards. And that's not, the awards is kind of the cherry on top of what we do. And that's kind of the most exciting thing, I think, for our members, to get access to movies before maybe they hit the theaters here, or get to be part of that conversation as award season goes on. But I think a lot of people locally or just in the state still either haven't heard of us or don't really understand exactly like who we are. And I think for our members, there's a great need there to give them more exposure of the work they're doing, whether it's some things like this podcast or films they're making that they're trying to find an audience for, or just like, Greg is going to be speaking soon at the Rourke Museum about Vertigo, and like getting the word out for really neat opportunities like that for film going audiences to know that there are these other cultural things happening and that our members are part of it. So we started this newsletter. That's a new benefit this year. Anyone can subscribe to it. You can go to our website, NorthDakotaFilmSociety.com, and subscribe. It gives a fun little recap of any kind of North Dakota related news stories that may exist out there, film related stories in North Dakota, the film stories that just in the industry in general that are kind of speaking to us currently, that week before, box office things, movies coming out, just kind of highlighting things that maybe you haven't seen, because the internet is so vast. Things are changing every single day. So we kind of are trying to curate a little bit of a repository for what to keep in mind if you're interested in the industry as a whole. It's not just fluff stuff. It's how is the industry changing? How is that going to impact maybe North Dakotan filmmakers, and how those of us who love film in North Dakota too, what should we be keeping on our radar?
Well, I'm a big fan. My favorite thing is you list a lot of the events going on, not just in the Fargo area, but around the state, and different film screenings. And then also just the upcoming films is super helpful. Sometimes, you get fed all these ads and you don't know when stuff's out, and it's really helpful to see what's coming. So I really encourage everyone to go and sign up for that, the North Dakota Film Society.com. Sign up for that newsletter every Monday. It's really awesome. And then you also can see all the other cool films being made in the state. Filmmaking is a team sport, and I love what you're doing with that, of spreading the word and helping connect filmmakers. All right. So arguably the biggest impact I believe the Film Society has, and full disclosure, I am a member here as well, so maybe a little biased, but the annual awards, the NDFS Awards, which I mentioned, just had their 7th annual awards released. What do you think makes them different from other movie lists?
I want to say the last time I counted, there are about 25 similar groups like ours around the country that have their own awards each year that are kind of part of this award season conversation. And that's everything from LA critics groups and New York's critics groups to Minnesota has a society now. And we're one of those kind of 25 groups out there. And we've gotten really great exposure. Whenever we gave The Power of the Dog our Best Picture prize a few years ago, that was a piece of Netflix history we got to be part of, and Variety reported on it because it was the first time a Netflix movie had won 100 awards. And we were that 100th award. And so just knowing that our little film family here gets to be part of it, people are paying attention enough to get to be part of that story is really unique. And yeah, studios know who we are, people know who we are, and they want us to make sure we've seen their movies every year, which is kind of fun.
And I think a pretty good track record for the Film Society in terms of a lot of the other awards and the Oscars. I was just looking the last 3 Best Pictures from the Film Society Awards were also the Academy Award Best Picture. So again, I think this is a good little cheat sheet for people who are about to do their Oscar watch party. So let's jump into it here.
Out before the nominations for the Oscars come out too, and we have a really great track record with documentaries and international films. We've had several that we were kind of one of the first groups to not give them a nomination before they went on to get an Oscar nomination, which is kind of neat to see. And we do really try to watch everything. So if, whenever it makes our list, and then we see it replicate into the Oscars, these kind of smaller films that people aren't really talking about, I think you're right. It kind of adds some validity to what we're doing and who we are.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that Netflix stat here. That's really cool that we were the 100th award for Netflix here. How many of the Film Society members voted here for this most recent one?
Yeah, we had just over 80% contribute to nominations, just over 80%, and then almost 100% participated in voting for the winners. So, which also I feel like is a pretty good track record there.
Yeah. All right. So I sent you a list of 10 ones I thought we could talk about here. So the Academy Awards coming out the 98th on March 15th. However, the North Dakota Film Society announced their winners January 12th. Let's start with Best Supporting Actress. What did the North Dakota Film Society nominate for the Best Supporting Actress? And I'm always confused here. Do I say this year, the previous year? Because it is 2026, but we're talking about 2025 movies.
I think for the sake of consistency, we can say this year just to make it easy. Because similarly, the Oscars did their nominations this year. Yeah. Our nominees for supporting actress were Elle Fanning and Inga Ibsdottir Lilius for Sentimental Value, Amy Madigan for Weapons, Wunmi Masaku for Sinners, and Tiana Taylor for One Battle After Another, which I think matches the Oscar nominees, correct? I think we got that. That's one of our categories that matched.
I didn't check, but yeah, it looks very similar. And I do got to say reason why the Film Society is so great for me as a film lover, Sentimental Value was not on my radar at all, coming out. And then I believe you were talking about it, or you were pushing it, and I watched it and was blown away. And now here we come. It's one of the top contenders here. I do feel like you were early money on Sentimental Value. And looking at these nominees, I think one that I'm really rooting for is Amy Madigan. I know she just won the Critics' Choice Awards recently, and I just thought her performance was so unique. And I'm a big fan of the director of Weapons, Zach Krager, and I just thought it was so different and out of nowhere. And she's had such a great long career, and she's the one I'm rooting for here. But who ultimately did win, and any other thoughts that you have? Who do you think is going to win at the Oscars?
Well, the fun thing with this category, actually the Oscars this year are going to be a lot of fun because we probably have some front runners, which we'll get to, like Timothée Chalamet, someone like that. But this is a category that literally a different person has won at each of the big awards. So we're kind of going into the Oscars without a clear front runner here. I think it'd be easy for people to probably say an Inga from Sentimental Value are going to maybe cancel each other out with votes. Amy Madigan is the only nominee for that movie, so that could, if people are really big fans of that movie, that could get her support. That is who we ended up giving the award to, which I think I agree with you, very deserving, very one of the most memorable characters of the year, I would say. And she's been doing incredible work for a very long time, so it's kind of almost like a career award. But Wunmi Masaku won the BAFTA this past week. Tiana Taylor won the Golden Globe. Amy Madigan won the Critics' Choice. It's kind of like who is going to end up here. I think if I had to put money on it, I would say I think it's going to be Amy Madigan, because she has this kind of love in the industry. She has been. It's been almost 40 years since her last nomination. It is the only nomination for Weapons. It's a fun, kind of transformative role, and so I feel like she's probably going to walk away with the Oscar.
I agree. I do feel like the Oscars do a lot of like career awards, where they also in their calculate, what the person has done and try to cast for a moment. So I do think she's probably in the front to win. Although my runner up is Wunmi, just because I do think my favorite movie, again, biased, Sinners was my favorite movie of last year. But just the fact that Sinners was the most nominated movie out of the history of the Oscars, I'm really hoping they dominate. And I really think people might underestimate it just because it's been out for so long and it's kind of considered more of a mainstream movie, and it's a horror movie in some parts as well. But I think that's what makes it so good. It's a horror musical drama, period.
She's great in it. Her performance is so good. It's when she's on screen, it's hard not to be like just wrapped up in her performance. So I agree. I also think, I know that Oscar voters don't think this way, but as someone on the outside, I think, well, if Timothée Chalamet is a shoo-in for actor, and that means Michael B. Jordan's not going to win. Again, if I like deduce it down like that, I'm like, well, then maybe Wunmi will get the support here, because everyone knows that like Michael B. Jordan is probably not going to win. So it's like, let's celebrate winners or sinners where we can,
Yeah, the other one I do got to give shout out, Tiana Taylor. I mean, just an iconic performance. Her character is awesome. I do feel like going against it, she was really only in a small part of the movie, and I think the directing and the writing are really the star of one battle after another.
We'll see her nominated again. She's an incredible performer, so I think that this is probably just the first time we'll see her at the Oscar stage for sure.
Yeah. Best supporting actor here. Now, who are the nominees, and what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so we nominated Benicio del Toro for One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, Paul Mescal for Hamnet, who did not make the cut at the Oscars, Sean Penn for One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. And if I had to pick one of those for the Oscar, I feel like this could be similar to the Amy Madigan story here. I feel like Stellan Skarsgård could take this home for Sentimental Value. He's been in the industry forever, very beloved, has turned in these incredible performances in American films and international films. He's like the father of this like film, legacy with his sons being actors. And he is kind of this very pivotal, obviously, role in the Sentimental Value movie. So this could be where they decide to reward that movie. And we could see Benicio and Sean Penn cancel each other out for one battle, since they're both there. I am surprised that Paul Mescal didn't make it into the Oscar race for Hamnet. That I think shows a little bit of maybe some weakness for Hamnet. But Jacob Elordi also could be a little surprise here at the Oscars. I don't know. But for us, we gave our prize to Sean Penn, which, similar to Amy Madigan, such a transformative role, a great villain. He's like, he's so disgusting in the movie, but there's something kind of like delicious in watching how awful he is when you're watching. And I think his commitment to that performance, that's what kind of makes that performance work. And you're terrified anytime he shows up. You're terrified he's on screen, and that wouldn't work without the work he did.
I agree. I think Film Society nailed it. I thought Sean Penn was the best supporting actor last year. He's just such a transformation. I feel like I've seen him so much, and I heard a lot going into the movie, oh, he's really good. But I was kind of like, I've seen Sean Penn be really good many times, And I feel like, kind of like Meryl Streep or certain actors, you're like, all right, I know it's going to be good, but you kind of know what you're going to get. But Sean Penn really surprised me just in the performance and the way he moved and walked, and all that stuff was so unique. And I just love the fact that someone who's such a veteran in the industry, who's kind of done so many things, I felt like really kind of reinvented himself and played a character I've never seen before. So I think he's my kind of favorite for it. I know he did just win the BAFTA as well for it. Jacob Elordi won the Critics' Choice Award. I think he's probably maybe my runner up for it. Although now after hearing you talk, I think I'm gonna have to put Stellan Skarsgård a little higher up there. I think you're right. Of the Academy would want to reward it. Has he been nominated for anything before at all?
No, it's his first time nominated for the Oscar. Yeah, and I will say this person didn't make our cut, but the other supporting actor that took the place of Paul Mescal is Delroy Lindo, another industry vet who's just been around doing incredible performances forever. It's his first nominee. I think he should have been nominated a few years ago for the Spike Lee movie he was in. But we have a lot of these incredible like career people that could take that award because who knows if he'll ever be nominated again. So maybe this is the time to champion someone like that. But if we're going strictly on kind of like how the season has gone, yeah, I think Stellan, if he's not the front runner, I mean, we have like 3 people here who it could be. This makes for a very fun Oscar year.
Yeah. And another thing I think is interesting to consider for the Oscars is sometimes I've noticed, I feel like the Oscar voters like to spread out the love a little bit, by, including one movie in some way. And I do think sentimental value, this is probably I guess this and international feature, are probably its strongest categories here. But yeah, I'm going to have to rethink my ballot on that one here. Moving on to Best Actor. I think this is kind of a lock here with Chalamet here, but why don't you tell the nominees and your thoughts here?
Yes, our nominees are Timothée Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leo for One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, this like great little Richard Linklater movie that you can watch on Netflix now, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and Lee Byung-hun for No Other Choice, a movie that was completely shut out at the Oscars. We gave it a few nominations in ours, but I still can't believe that movie didn't make it in, at least international feature at the Oscars. That he did not make it for the Oscars. At the Oscars, who did they give there? Wagner Moura for Secret Agent made it in the Oscar cut, didn't make it in ours. I think for the Oscars, I do think this is Timmy's year. I think Timothy's going to get it. A lot of people feel like Leonardo and Michael, it's kind of just, again, like a 3-way fight here, but Leonardo DiCaprio already has his Oscar. He's already an industry vet now. Michael B. Jordan is incredible in Sinners, playing 2 people. I think he could be the upset here and take it, but I don't know. I think Timothy has pretty much done incredible work his entire career. He's only 30, so it's pretty young, and the Oscars don't typically give the actor prize to a lot of young men out there. But if you look at his resume, he's done very similar work as like a Leo in his young age. Like he's got this incredible pedigree behind him. So my money is still in Timothy. We gave our prize to Timothée Chalamet. So I think we're kind of going lockstep there.
Yeah, I agree here. My hope, though, is Michael B. Jordan. I thought his performance was so good. Not only have to do it twice, but there's kind of a stereotypical way that a lot of actors do twins. And I was listening to an interview with Ryan Coogler, the director, about it, and he was saying how Michael B. Jordan was making the choice to make him more similar than different. And that is kind of all the twins that Ryan Coogler's known in life. And I thought that was really interesting to play. And yeah, incredible performance by Michael B. Jordan. Not once did I ever think that there was one person there. I always believed in those 2 characters, and I thought really different from what he's done before. But yeah, I think Timothée Chalamet's got it. I thought he was the best part of that movie, of Marty Supreme, and just he's really campaigning for it. I know a lot of the Oscar voters kind of sometimes do need to be courted, and I do feel like he's really making a run for it. It's his year. So I think that's a lock. Another lock is, I think, Jessie Buckley. I think this is a surprise to no one. Every single award I've seen has been Jessie Buckley for Best Actress. You want to talk a little bit about the nominees for Best Actress and who won and your thoughts?
I was listening to a podcast who was talking about kind of the Oscar voting opens actually today when we're recording this. And they were just saying they should almost give that prize out at the very beginning because we all know who's going to get it. Just kind of get it out of the way and let's get to the rest of the ceremony. But we nominated Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Chase Infinity for One Battle After Another, Renata Rinsma for Sentimental Value, and Emma Stone for Begonia. This was one of our categories. Only 3 of ours made it into the Oscar list. But what is a very strong year for all 5 of these performances are unbelievable. And in their own different, unique way. Like Rose Byrne is just harrowing, and If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. crazy wild movie that is. Chase Infinity, what an incredible debut. She's kind of this ingenue who's now on the scene, and she's going to have an incredible career ahead of her. Emma Stone just keeps pumping out these ridiculous, wild performances for Yorgos Lanthimos. Renata Rinzva for Sentimental Value. I mean, that's just like she's the heartbeat of that movie. Actually, I guess we had 4 here because didn't Emma made it in for the Oscar? Yes, we matched 4 here. But our win went to Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, and that is probably the performance of the year. It's hard to watch that movie without being moved by everything she's doing. The way she is like presents this character and connects to it is just, I'm like getting, I can't, it's hard to talk about that movie without getting emotional. And like some of the scenes, it's just like unbelievable how she's able to just connect so deep into what she's doing. It's hard not to get lost in what she's doing, and just the grief and how she shows grief in such a physical way, but also such a quiet way sometimes. It's just wild what she's doing there. And so she's getting the Oscar. Yeah, that's the 100% award here. You can bet on.
If you want to make sure you at least get 1 point in your Oscar pool, do Jessie Buckley. One of my favorite actresses for the longest time, ever since I saw her in Fargo. I don't know if you saw her in Fargo, but she was incredible as this kind of kid. And then every other thing I see her, and she's so different and so unique. And she's the best part of Hamnet, and especially that end scene where she's like at the play. It's so incredible.
It's like, what an incredible third act of the movie.
Yeah, no, the more I think about Hamlet, the more I like it. I remember when I was watching it, I was like, where is this going? But that is a movie that really sits with you and changes, and incredible. And Jessie Buckley is the one that sticks with you from the very beginning. Her performance is so great, and not a lot of dialogue, and I feel like, and so interesting, because you'd think, a movie about loss, especially in the time of Shakespeare, that does not sound that enjoyable. But it is like, feels so modern and so fresh. And I think because of her and Paul, I think really kind of helps make it feel that way. But absolutely incredible performance, easy win for her, and rightly deserved. So much so that I'm very much looking forward to The Bride coming up here in a couple of weeks, which has been getting really horrible reviews and buzz. But I'm looking forward to it. Just
crazy cast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that, The Bride has such a crazy cast that it is surprising that it's getting the vitriol that it's getting. But I mean, when I watched the trailer the first time, I was also kind of like, what is this? I even thought this doesn't affect her, awards campaigning, but it's not. I mean, she's gonna get the Oscar. Maybe it'll boost that movie. I don't know. We'll see.
I hope so. I think she looks great in that movie. I think she looks so cool, and Maggie Gyllenhaal directed it. I think it looks really cool, but it does kind of seem like a mess. It reminds me of Southland Tales. If you ever saw that old Richard, not Richard Linklater, but the guy who did Donnie Darko. I remember Southland Tales came out, and it really was trying all these things, but it was kind of a mess. That's the
I watched that a couple years ago, and it has aged better than it did. I think it was like maybe just like ahead of its time a little bit. And maybe you're right. Maybe The Bride. Maybe we've also just had a lot of like Frankenstein and Dracula. We've had a lot of that lately. So maybe it's just we're a little fatigued with that specific story. Yeah. But so maybe it'll age better. I think it premiered. I think it premiered in competition at Cannes that year. Imagine that, like that red carpet, like, insane.
I remember because Donnie Darko is such a hit. Richard Kelly, that was his name.
There you go.
This was his big movie and a huge budget, and I think Warner Brothers made it. Yeah, I remember it just immediately bombed. I mean, just the reviews, everything were a huge bomb. So much so, I believe they completely re-edited the movie after that premiere because it went so bad, if I remember rightly.
And then I do wonder if they had left it how it was. I wonder if audiences maybe would have gravitated more towards it. I don't know. I feel like people maybe just didn't take it seriously at the time. But if you watch it now, when I watched it a few years ago, I was really surprised by some of the production value of it. The performances are good. It is like a crazy, wacky story. But if you kind of go in ready for that, and you're like just in on the bit a little bit, it's a fun ride. It's kind of it's a little scary too, looking at the world we live in now, and it kind of is a little bit telling the future.
All right, we got to stay moving forward. Best ensemble. Now this is kind of unique because this year at the Oscars they have a brand new category here, which is achievement in casting, and this I believe is the first time they've ever done that. Who were the nominees from the North Dakota Film Society for Best Ensemble, and what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so for Best Ensemble, which we introduced this, I think, 2 years ago. So it's a newer category for us. When we did Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. And we gave our prize to Sinners, which I think is very deserving. That cast works together so well. I think the difference here between this and the casting Oscar, which I would say for the other awards that have like an ensemble award, is the most similar, I guess, if you're trying to kind of build the bridge there, is Best Ensemble is about how are these cast as working as a team? How are they all working together to tell this story? And honestly, all 5 of the cast that we nominated, those movies only exist because of the way the actors work together. If you were to break each of them apart, in Sinners, I think it's such a vast cast of such different talents, bringing so many different things to the table. By that one won it for us. We also just love Sinners as a group. I think where that mirrors in the casting award for the Oscars, which is really more about the art of pulling these people together. There were a lot of people, Sentimental Value did not get nominated for the casting Oscar, and a lot of people thought, how do you nominate 4 people from this cast? You basically nominated the cast, but you didn't do casting, and that's because that movie was kind of written with this cast in mind. Like there wasn't really a lot of casting that went into it because it exists because that cast, these people were already part of the project. Where the casting, the art of that comes in is saying we have the story. Now let's pull these people together from wherever we need to get them to get this across the finish line. And that's why Marty Supreme got in there, because you have all these non-professional actors who are just interesting people in society getting to kind of cut their teeth with people like Timothée Chalamet. Sinners, you have a lot of these musicians. And again, people who acting is not their forte. They're coming here and being part of telling this incredible story. I think of the Oscars, I think we're going to see Sinners take this one too. I think it's going to be, I don't know when they're going to announce that in the evening, but I could see that kind of being the start of kind of a Sinners waterfall we see throughout the ceremony. But yeah, when you look at that entire cast, it's incredible people doing incredible work, bringing their kind of the peak of their talent there, but still contributing to the story, whether it is a musician, a storyteller, an actor. They're all very interesting people, and it only works because those people are playing those parts.
I agree. I think Sinners is the front runner here. I do think Hamnet is a possibility for here, just as a way to kind of reward all the cast and bring Paul back in, and also just the kids were pretty good in Hamnet here. But I guess I think of it is kind of, yes. Oh yeah, the brother he was kind of famous in some stuff too, if I remember.
Yeah, he did. I don't remember. Oh, his like first movie I think was Honey Boy, the Shia LaBeouf movie. About kind of I think that was his first.
Everyone was.
And
which,
then
by the way,
boy.
I just loved a great brother relationship in a movie. I feel like I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah,
great. And I think the other kind of front runner is One Battle After Another. I do think everyone is so unique and really fits together well. But I do feel like the weakest link in One Battle After Another is DiCaprio. I do feel like I could see other actors playing that, compared to, Benicio del Toro or Sean Penn or Tiana Taylor, where that is the character. Maybe because I did sometimes just saw him as that's DiCaprio playing it. And then the one I really hope does not get it, which I do admire a lot of non-actors in it, is Marty Supreme, just because it had my least favorite performance of last year, which was Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. I thought he was so bad in that movie, and he just took me out of it anytime he had a scene. And it seemed like
it was
everyone
hard
was world, but he just seems so stiff and so. I just he's the one guy. Maybe I'm a huge fan of Shark Tank, I guess, and maybe I saw too much of him there. But I do hope that does not win, because I thought Kevin O'Leary was pretty rough and Marty Supreme.
It was hard to take him seriously and not think of him as just Mr. Wonderful. And I think if there's one movie I feel like that maybe it gets some backlash from maybe the political conversation, that might be the movie that we see that. And because of maybe his involvement, or just even some of the, I feel like every time you get into this award season, you get these crazy stories coming out of the woodwork. Who knows who's planting these stories? But I feel like Marty Supreme has had quite a few negative stories coming out in the past couple months, whether it's about some of the people on set or just the director. There's different things. I feel like that, besides Timothy, I feel like we'll see that result in Marty Supreme not getting as many wins as maybe it could have gotten. But
yeah, that's interesting. Now, one thing I would like your take on is The Smashing Machine. I don't think the Film Society nominated for anything, did it? Or were you surprised? that movie not recognized here? And full disclosure, I did not watch that movie. So I'm probably not the best person to ask. Did you see it? Did you like it?
Did see it. I think we might have nominated it for makeup, which is the only place it also transferred over to the Oscars. Let me see.
Oh, it did.
No, we
win.
didn't. We didn't even nominate it for makeup, so I think it was completely shut out on our awards. I would say people I talked to in the film society, just people I know saw it. I think we all kind of agreed that there's maybe something there. I kind of feel like the film maybe took itself a little too seriously for what it is. I don't think the script was very strong. Specifically, Emily Blunt's like character, how it was written, I feel like it was just very just by the book. Like, this is a female character, and there wasn't really a lot of depth there. I also think that I don't think that The Rock's. I think is maybe one of the stronger performances by The Rock, and I know it was him trying to like show he can also be a dramatic actor. But similar to kind of, and maybe this is a personal take, but similar to your Kevin O'Leary comment, it's hard for me not to see The Rock when I see The Rock on screen, even with the makeup they have him in and everything. It was a very hard movie. The movie expected you to take it more seriously, and it was hard to take that movie seriously. And it was way too long. It was doing too much of trying to be this elevated like Oscar movie instead of just maybe having a little bit more fun and being more just a movie. I feel like it being that and Marty Supreme being the first movie that these brothers are making separately, the Safdie brothers, I feel like I could kind of see which one maybe has a little bit more of the artistic chops there out of the two. And Marty Supreme to me very much feels like a Safdie brothers movie. And I'm now wondering if that means Josh Safdie has had more influence in how they have made things in the past together. I hope Benny like still tries. I mean, they both are good storytellers. Just The Smashing Machine. Not a good movie.
Yeah, interesting. And I got to defend Benny Safdie. Huge fan of The Curse on Showtime with Nathan Fielder that he wrote and directed and acted in. And also got to give props to Happy Gilmore too. Happy Gilmore is one of my favorite movies, and the sequel it's grown on me a little bit, but he was pretty good in it.
Unfortunately, Happy Gilmore 2 didn't make it in our cut either.
I think I saw some people did nominate Happy Gilmore 2 for some.
It got thrown in there, yeah. It did get thrown in there, but not enough.
Wasn't me, but I support it.
Sure.
Best original song. What were the nominees? I think this is maybe to 2, but what do you think were the nominees and what do you think?
Yeah, so for us, our nominees for our awards were Golden from K-Pop Demon Hunters, I Lied to You from Sinners. Both of those made it into the Oscar race. Last Time I Seen the Sun from Sinners, Clothed by the Sun from The Testament of Ann Lee, another movie I thought was great, but was completely shut out at the Oscars. And then Train Dreams from Train Dreams, which is also nominated at the Oscars. This, I would say, like Jessie Buckley, this is the other one that you can bet your money on exactly what's going to win. Golden is going to win. One of the biggest songs of the year outside of even film. It's probably the most recognizable song people have heard of here. It'll take the award. It'll be the winner. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. The runner-up, I think, is given a run for its money is I Lied to You from Sinners, just in case, there is a strong contingent for Sinners. But yeah, it's probably going to be Golden, just because it really broke through as well to mainstream. The last time I can think of that was that Trolls song by Justin Timberlake. Not often does the original song break through, especially from like a kid's movie. So yeah, I think that for sure is the nominee. And also, interesting thing for the Oscars, I believe the movies can only do one song per movie, if I believe correctly.
Yeah, that's a little category. They rewrite the rules every couple of years some years there's just not very many good songs, and so it kind of just feels like almost people just like don't even care about the category. And then you get a year like, I don't know, when A Star Is Born came out and had Shallow, and it was just like, of course that's gonna, you have those kinds of years that get really exciting. This year I'll be interested to see, they're only going to perform 3 of the 5 songs nominated live apparently. Which I have a little bit of beef with. I think some people, that is the category that's always contentious. A lot of people don't care about it, or they think it's boring whenever they perform them. I feel like if you're not going to perform all of them, don't perform any of them, because that immediately makes it seem like the 2, especially announcing that, Oscar voting is just now starting, already announcing that 2 of them aren't worthy enough to be performed live. In my mind, I'm like, oh, well, then they must not have a lot of faith that these movies even going to get voted on.
Which one? Do you know offhand which ones are not going to be?
Yeah, the one that's kind of like more of like an operetta from Verdi, which is this kind of unknown like documentary. It was kind of the surprise nomination. I don't even remember what it's called. And then the Diane Warren song from the Diane Warren documentary. Both of those are the ones that are not getting performed. And I just, in my mind, I'm just kind of like, well, if you don't have faith that they're going to win, if they thought one of those was going to win, they would 100% want it to be performed, because why would you, not have that song performed if it's going to, it feels like a weird decision on their part, but they have to have Golden performed. It's the biggest song of the year. That's going to be a draw for people who are going to want to tune in and see that performed live. I can't wait to see how they stage I Lied to You, because that's such a crucial, incredible part of Sinners. Like, that's kind of like, I don't know, one of my favorite sequences of the year is that whole scene when that song is performed. So it'll be neat to see how they do that on the stage. But and then I think Train Dreams is the other one that is going to be performed. I don't remember, but I don't know. This category is always fickle every single year. I think this year that's another reason why we have kind of a front runner here, just because the other songs haven't really hit the zeitgeist like the way Golden has.
Yeah, even I Lied to You, I feel like the song has not transcended as much as that scene has. And that's a good point. I'm bummed to see. I didn't think of how they're going to logistically do that. But I got to disagree with you a little bit. I'm fine with them not playing all of them, because some years I'm just like, this song is not great. Like, let's skip it. So I'm cool with that. And I'd rather leave room for a little bit more categories or some skit. But all right, we just have a couple left here. Best screenplay. Now, this is really interesting, I think, because the Academy Awards has original screenplay and adapted screenplay. We kind of pushed it all together. What were the nominees, and who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, our nominees were Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. And we gave the prize to One Battle After Another, Paul Thomas Anderson, which we talked about earlier. I think you even mentioned it, that like the screenplay is really kind of one of the standouts of that, of why that movie works. And I completely agree. I think Paul Thomas Anderson always has very interesting screenplays and interesting work. And I think this one is probably one of his strongest ones in a very long time. There's something so unique about how he like threads these stories and these characters together in a very unique way, and the language they use feels so real and genuine. And I don't know. I loved that screenplay. I think for us giving that award, I think there was also a little bit of I think people knew that Sinners was going to win ours, which I just spoiled. But I think that was kind of a way to also give this other huge big movie a prize. And I kind of feel like that might be what we end up seeing at the Oscars too. I can see One Battle taking the screenplay prize, and then maybe Sinners taking Best Picture at the Oscars. But for us, we have like you said, we have this combined category here, and I think all 5 of our nominees are really strong. So I think any one of them was a worthy winner.
Yeah, I think it's between One Battle and Sinners. I also think Hamnet has a strong chance here. I thought Hamnet was really well written and structured, and that'll be an interesting one to watch. Best Director. I think this is a 2-person race here. Who are the nominees, and who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, so for us, we did PTA for One Battle After Another, Ryan Coogler for Sinners, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, Joachim Trier, I think is how you say it, for Sentimental Value, and Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. And we gave our award to Paul Thomas Anderson. And I agree with you. I think this could be how we end up seeing the Oscars shake out. I think he's never won an Oscar before, which is wild. And I think he will end the night with at least 2 Oscars. I think he'll get the screenplay Oscar, and I think he'll get director Oscar.
I agree. I think Paul Thomas Anderson is probably going to get the directing award, just because it was so expansive, and he threaded the needle on so many different tones. I personally do feel like he dropped the ball at the ending. I love the movie. I feel like Paul Thomas Anderson is so great at endings. I think of the end of Magnolia, where they look into the camera, or the end of Boogie Nights, or There Will Be Blood, when he yells, "I'm finished." I feel like he's so great at endings, but I really cannot stand the ending of One Battle After Another. I loved every second of it, except like the last 5 minutes when they play that Tom Petty song and have Leonardo DiCaprio trying to mess with his phone. That's my only criticism of that movie, is the last 5 minutes. But I do think Paul Thomas Anderson's a lock, and that's probably who I'm going to push on my Oscar ballot.
That's a really fair critique, but I think I almost kind of like that kind of divisiveness with the movie and like the creative direction that someone takes, because I think that's like the really fun thing to talk about after you see a movie, of like why you didn't like that, even though I still feel like it's a well done ending. I think that I don't know. I like sometimes whenever the way the movie ends isn't how you personally wanted it to end, but I feel like I don't know. I still feel like it's done in a very interesting, unique way. So Again,
would
this
say
is another
William-
category too. They all are great. All five of the, like, and at least our nominees, I think all five of them are deserved, and they all did such interesting takes on their stories. And I think this is such a fun year for movies. So, and these directors are the reason.
I agree. I think this is one of the better years for movies, and it makes it so much more fun to not only have movies that kind of are universally liked, but box office wise, I do feel like it's finally starting to rebound since pre-pandemic. All right, final two awards I want to ask you about. Best animated feature, who are the nominees, and who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, so our nominees were Arco, Boys Go to Jupiter, K-Pop Demon Hunters, Little Amelie or the Character of Rain, and Zootopia 2. And a few of those did transfer over to the Oscar nominations as well. This was the one category I was really surprised by our winner. We picked Zootopia 2, and I don't really know why that ended up being. I do remember being very, very close. I mean, like between a point or two with our winner here. I voted for Arco. I thought Arco was just this incredible, interesting little unique story. It was not on my radar at all until we got the screener from Neon for it, and it has kind of made its way into the Oscar conversation. I think at the Oscars, though, I think this is K-Pop Demon Hunter is going to win again. Another, like, it's the one that kids are still. I mean, it's still clocking in hundreds of millions of hours of views every week, and it's just it's such a like cultural piece of film. It also was just announced that it's coming to the Criterion Collection, which is crazy. It's just like it's such a pivotal piece of like animated film. So I think that's going to take the Oscar. But yeah, we gave it to Zootopia 2, which I guess maybe could be the upset. I guess we could see that happen at the Oscars. But
I disagree. I think this is a lock for K-Pop Demon Hunter. You don't see the Zootopia 2 Criterion being announced. And I don't think it ever will. But K-Pop Demon Hunter, I mean, I think it's my second favorite movie of the year behind Sinners. I was blown away by this movie, and every single person I've recommended it to has loved it. And I think it works on so many levels, just from the cinematicness of it to the story. You know, I think it's such a unique story. The idea of K-Pop Demon Hunters, and spoiler alert, one of them is a demon. I think that's such a great story and such a great premise. And how they kind of put everything, all these different tropes on their head. And also being a father, my son, I know, loves it, as well as every kid in his school loves this movie. So I think it's a lock for K-Pop Demon Hunters. I think it's such an incredible movie. And I was shocked that Zootopia 2 was the winner for the Film Society Awards. And I do blame it to the name K-Pop Demon Hunters, which I think it turns off a lot of people. I know me personally, when I started to hear, you know, you got to see K-Pop Demon Hunter. It's really good. I was thinking it can't be. It can't be that good. The name of it. And I mean, from the first, I may say, a couple minutes, you know, you're sold. At least I was sold on it. So I think definitely that's a lock. And I believe I also nominated for one of the best pictures, and I was surprised it was not one of the 10 best pictures. And if it would have been a less amazing year of movies, I think it definitely would have been in there for sure.
Our awards, so I know we're going to get to best picture in a second, and we only do 5 nominees, but it was in the top 10 of our.
Oh, wow.
It made it in the top 10 of for our group, at least, of how we voted. So if we did 10 nominees, it would have been one of the best picture nominees.
Wow. All right. Well, best picture here, which was expanded to 10. We have 5. Who are the top nominees, and what do you think? And I think they're all very familiar names for we've been talking about them this whole time.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing this year too. I feel like if you look at the Oscar nominees, there is kind of the same 5 or 6, 7 movies that kind of show up almost everywhere. And I don't know if that's a sign of how just movie watching habits are these days. Of, you know, because I feel like the Oscars, I mean, there's always like, you know, your front runners and the ones that are in the conversation, but I do feel like they typically spread the wealth a little bit more year to year. And I don't know, or maybe this year these are just really strong movies and that's why they're showing up everywhere. But our nominees were Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. All 5 of those also made it into the Oscar Best Picture lineup. I mean, I already spoiled, but Sinners won our Best Picture prize. It really came down to singular votes between that and One Battle After Another for our win. And I think at the Oscars, I think it's still a very close race between One Battle After Another and Sinners. I think one of those is going to win. If there is an upset between those two, it'll be Hamnet. I think. But again, this is going to make for really fun Academy Awards to watch because it's literally anybody's prize to win right now, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a 2-movie race between One Battle After Another and Sinners. I don't think I don't think it's going to be split so much that Hamnet's going to come in. My money's on Sinners. I think number one, just because it is the most nominated movie of all time for the Academy, I think people need to see that as a sign. And then just thinking of those 2 movies in the history of movies, in the history of film, I do feel like One Battle After Another fits in there with another Paul Thomas Anderson drama, adult drama, interesting characters, interesting story of our time. But I do feel like Sinners is a Wizard of Oz. I mean, it is a iconic movie that is, you can't describe it. It's its own genre. I remember as soon as I left the theater, I was talking to my wife about it, and we just could not describe it. We could not compare it to anything else because it's part horror, part musical, part drama, part comedy. And I just think it is such an incredible film that will really be one of the great films of our time. And I think it's going to be the best picture.
I can see that too. And if you look at the track record of the Academy the past few years, from like Everything Everywhere All at Once winning, they have made some pretty like out there choices that aren't your typical like kind of Oscar movie. A Parasite, yeah, it's I think the way that they have embraced a larger, more international, more diverse, a younger kind of audience Academy, like the membership, the way it's made up, I think that's why we get to see some more kind of fun movies that really are kind of like a piece of their time. And I think so. I think you're absolutely right. I think even because of that, I think Sinners could take this prize because it's just such a unique, interesting way to tell that kind of a story. And it entered into this. I mean, it's a huge box office hit. It came out spring of last year and people are still talking about it, which is not something that, a typical movie, nothing really has legs like that anymore because of the way just the way we take information now. So, and it would be a really fun win. I mean, it's a crazy, weird movie. And the way the Oscars work now too, is you have to have watched everything to vote. And I think, maybe there's some outliers there, people who just thought maybe that's not the movie for me. And I'm really excited that those people, even if they don't end up voting for it, I know there are people out there who have to watch that movie because they want to vote for it. And it's fun to think that there's people who everyone's having to watch this incredible movie. It's so incredible. It's a great movie.
Yeah. And I also was on the fence. I've actually, for being a huge movie lover, I've only seen 3 horror films my whole life. The idea of a horror film, like, I don't get it. Like, why would I want to scare myself? So I really was hesitant. I think I waited a month or 2 after it came out to go see it because I was like, I really don't want to see a horror film. But it is not a horror film. It is an experience. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. And I think one thing that makes it so unique is it is a singular vision of Ryan Coogler, who up until this point has not done an original story. His original film, Fruitvale Station, based upon an existing story. He did the Creed movies. He did the Black Panther movies. He's about to do the new X-Files, all existing IP, intellectual property that he would then filter. And I love the idea that Sinners is the first kind of original story that he's telling, and also just the financial deal behind of it. He was one of the few filmmakers who I believe Quentin Tarantino was the first to be given the ownership of the film after 25 years. After 25 years, 100% of the ownership of the movie will revert to Ryan Coogler and his family, which is unheard of. I mean, that is not the business of these movie studios. I read a lot of articles where they're afraid of this, of we make money off the Wizard of Oz for 100 years. Why would we spend all this money and give it up? But I think this is a good case study of why studios should do this, because you get so much more out of the filmmaker, when they own it. I think of all these horrible Netflix movies, particularly by the Russo brothers or other filmmakers who have such a great track record, and then they go to Netflix and it doesn't matter if their movie, gets any nominations or makes any money at the box office, they're going to get paid the same amount. I think also by rewarding Sinners will hopefully reward this new economic model for studios where they do allow the filmmakers and the artists to have more ownership and participation.
Yeah, I think it kind of shows like the passion too behind someone who is they really are, they have this thing they have to get out of them. It's a piece of art they have to make, and it opens a whole can of worms on what a film is art, what a film is just product. When you think of like Russo brothers and things like what is just like a piece that they're making, to make the company money. I mean, it's all a bit, it's show business, but still there's something here. It's really nice and encouraging to see someone who is an artist make those kinds of business deals with the art in mind and giving them the freedom to still make the art they want to make. And I think when you think of like narratives behind movies too, especially at the awards race, that one's got a really cool narrative behind it where him and his wife are both producers on the film. They're the two that they're the names that are nominated for the Best Picture prize. It's the first time a married couple has been nominated in that way. And that's just a really cool, unique thing to show the power. I mean, this is a collective effort. Him and his wife made this movie. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, my money's on Sinners. I really think that's the one to beat here. Any final thoughts here on the North Dakota Film Society Awards or the upcoming Academy Awards?
Yeah, I would just encourage people to follow us on social media and kind of follow along. We're really this year amping up kind of being like kind of creating conversation, being part of the conversation year round, not just in our awards every year, but really trying to highlight what is at your fingertips as a North Dakotan. And whether you're a filmmaker or you're just someone who loves to watch movies, we want to try to like kind of keep exposing people to what's out there and what's coming and just celebrating film as it exists. But then the closer we get to award season, we love highlighting like kind of what's out there in our awards. I think every year bring some titles to the front of the conversation. Like you said, like I hope that there are people out there who watched Sentimental Value because they saw us give it so much love, and it was a movie that didn't. It was barely released in theaters here in the States. That's a movie that if you wanted to see it, you had to really seek it out. And I hope that we made it worth it for people to seek a movie like that out.
Heck yeah. I can't wait to see what happens. And thank you so much, Scottie, for your time and for helping me reboot the Film North Dakota podcast with full HD video. Thank you so much. And I really recommend everyone to go check out the North Dakota Film Society, NorthDakotaFilmSociety.com. Sign up for the NDFS weekly, the newsletter, and also check out the awards if you're looking to have a cheat sheet for your Oscar ballot. Thank you, Scottie. Appreciate your time, and thank you everyone for listening, and keep making movies in North Dakota.
Thanks for listening to the Film North Dakota podcast, brought to you by the North Dakota Film and Media Association. If you want to learn more or connect with other filmmakers in North Dakota, check us out online at filmnd.org. I'm Matt Fern. Thanks for tuning in, and keep making movies in North Dakota.
North Dakota, where the sun shines brighter and the country's wider than the sky. I come from